And we are live right now. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to another Inacos podcast. And our special guest today is Gael Pignet. He is a managing director of France and Benelux from Chalion, our gold sponsor for the upcoming summit Inacos Berlin next week, which is taken care of next week. We are very excited to hear your keynotes there. And today we will take a little sneak peek on our presentations, and we will be speaking about navigating the beauty e-commerce landscape. So this short interview will discuss the challenges beauty brands are facing in e-commerce and strategy to overcome them. So without any ado, let's dive right into it. Gael, what are some of the biggest challenges beauty brands are facing and in selling an e-commerce platform at this moment?
Okay. Hi, Irina. Nice to meeting you. Yes, absolutely. So in beauty, I would say that there are several challenges. The first one, obviously, is brand visibility. Often when you look at e-commerce, people think about it as an endless shelf. But the problem is that even if there are many products, you are not going to see all of them. When you are a customer, you are going to see a small selection. So it's really key for the brands to be part of what the products are going to see. I would say the second big challenge is the fact that when you go in a beauty store, as you know, you have people to help you, you have clerks, and also you have a tactile experience with the product. You can touch the packaging, you can see what it is. When you are on e-commerce, basically it's all on your screen and you have access to data, but it's a bit colder. So also it's key actually to drive conversion and to have people actually choosing product and understanding the product. There is this whole challenge, which is that you are basically alone with your screen. There has been actually some ways actually to circumvent that. For example, having a shop-in-shop. But there is another challenge, which is how to drive people in the shop-in-shop. Because you can have your own brand site and the retailer, but then most of the people go normally on the normal listing. So there is another challenge here, which is coming back when you do this type of things. And the last thing I would say is, you know as well as me, e-commerce, it's a lot of different retailers. I mean, you have Amazon, which is more a marketplace. In beauty, you have more premium retailers like Sephora, for example, and then you have some which are more discounters, pharmacies. But at the end of the day, when you are a brand, a global brand, you want to have a certain consistency in the way you communicate with your brand. And the difficulty here is how to tackle the opportunities on each of these touch points, which are very different. So as you can see, many different challenges, and I would say passionating area.
Yes, exactly. And actually, you have mentioned many of these challenges, which we had the request from our audience to discuss at the next conference. Very well. So now, how can beauty brands overcome these challenges and stand out from the competition? Because I think this is like the key questions everyone asking, right?
Yeah. I will start first with something which seems obvious, which is not necessarily all tackled. You cannot anymore consider that e-commerce is just the digitalization of your offline practice. So on an organizational point of view, of course, you need sales team dedicated for e-commerce, but also marketing teams. Because the way you are going to think about your content, you have to think about it in a e-commerce way, which is optimized for search, for example. So this type of things has to be thought very early in the stage, and you really need dedicated people to this type of to this channel, I would say. The other one is we talked a lot about the heterogeneity of the different touch points of retailers, and here is going to be really important actually to have solutions, tools that enable to monitor your performance in a consistent way. We're part of this, the people who can do this type of things, but definitely having I would say, harmonized way to look at your e-commerce channel is definitely key to drive your performance. I would say one last thing, which is, in my opinion, very important, is to be very aware of the innovation. I talked earlier about the shopping experience. So there are ways, actually, there are features to improve that. For example, augmented reality that you can have, which is actually another value of e-commerce on stores, because it's rare that you can try a lot of makeup, for example, when you go to a beauty store. This is something which is much easier to do on e-commerce. So there are these type of things. You have to be aware of it, aware of where it's available, how your competitors are using it, to make sure that actually you are edgy in this area and can tackle this type of opportunities.
Yes, exactly. So how do you define the e-commerce brand visibility, which is, I think it's like really hottest topic right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when it was in physical store, okay, there were many products, but if you were going into a shelf, you could see at a glance mostly everything. The problem was to attract your attention. When you are on e-commerce, it's really about, you are not going to see everything. You are going to see a small part of the assortment. So here, it's what are the components in e-commerce that are going to drive this visibility? And actually, there are three main ones, which are search. Basically, you are going to type a keyword to access to a certain category of brands. So how do you appear on the important keywords of your category? The second one is shelf, the menu, that you have most of the time on the left bar, sometimes on the top. You are going to access to your category. So it's a second way to access to your product. And there is also a shortcut, which is media, ads. So basically, we consider that visibility is a combination of these three things, plus promotions. Now, promotions, they are also present in shelf and in search, but actually it's a way to highlight the product beyond the conversion that it can bring. So by our definition, visibility is the combination of your share on each of these elements. And we think it's really key, because if you really want to monitor your portfolio, your brand portfolio visibility, you have to work across these different elements.
Exactly. So how can you discuss the importance of visibility versus product page content, and how it varies across different industries?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a very key topic. I guess you have probably heard this expression saying that if you want to hide a dead body, you have to put them on the second page, on this type of statement. And what we have to be really clear about is that according to the industry, the behavior of the shoppers can be very different. So, for example, if you are buying a toothpaste, probably you're not going to spend a lot of time on checking exactly what is in the product page, because it's something that you're going to do on a bi-weekly basis. You know your brands, you can eventually take a promotion. So here, basically, what it means is that, okay, product page, I'm not saying it's absolutely not important, but you are going to focus a lot on visibility, because you are going to win much more people on sales if you actually monitor properly the visibility. You really have to be the king of visibility there. If I take a category, like, for example, I'm going to take a big one, like TV screens. TV screens, yes, you are going to spend time to make your choice. So you are going to check the details. You're probably going to go to several sites, forums, get information. Here, the product page is really important, because basically you're going to spend a lot of time looking for this information. So it's going to be a combination, but more biased to the product page. Now, if you take beauty, beauty is an interesting category, because it's a bit of both. And actually, in our opinion, it's the type of category where it's a little bit balance between product page and visibility. So it's a good news, because there are many ways to actually attract people, but at the same time, it's a bad news, because you have a lot of work, because you have to be good at everything.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. So tell me a little bit more about beauty, the balance between visibility and product page, and visibility and product page content in the beauty.
Yeah, so basically what it means is that if you have this, so you have a more balance. So basically what it means is that first you have to make sure that you are among the products which are going to be the most visible to the shopper. So definitely here you have to make sure by search, by ads, by a shelf, that you are really visible. But then people are going to spend time on our product page. So what I think here, and also what is going to be very important is that on your product page, actually you have the right keyword to have the SEO. So in my opinion, the best way to tackle all these is that to make sure that at the moment where you really start working, launching a product, you have to make sure your content is right. But because at the end of the day, you are going to have to monitor also your visibility in a very frequent basis because things are changing. The share, the competitor, can attack on search on having, for example, on your own keyword, your brand keyword. They can make a massive media campaign, which is going to completely switch your share. So here you really need to monitor that on a very regular basis. So it's really having this balance in terms of being able to tackle properly product page and being able to focus on a more frequent basis on media and visibility in general.
Yes, exactly. So can you break down the different types of e-retail media and explain how each type can be used to improve the brand's visibility online?
Yeah, absolutely. So retail media, it's a word in itself because, as you know, I mean, retailers are becoming almost a media in themselves. And I would say there are two key elements that I would say differentiate the eventual outcome of the media is where it is on the site and the type of media. Where it is on the site, obviously, if you communicate on the homepage, you are going to have more access to more people because basically you have even access to people who would not even think about your category. And then if you go on keywords, basically generic keywords, like if you a keyword on an ingredient on a large category, like fragrance, for example, you are going still to access to a lot of people, but who are a little bit more towards your category. And the more granular you go, the more actually you are going to be more targeted on people who are really interested by your brand or your set of competitors. And then it's more about not recruiting, but actually about repurchase or actually having a bigger basket. So whether it is on homepage, search, being more granular, or menu where you are at a category or subcategory or lower level, on the first one, you are going to be more recruiting, and then the more you are going to be more to transformation. And for the type of media, it's a little bit the same thing. You have like, banner carousels, which are going to attract really which are basically what we say above the fold. And these ones are basically really made to attract people and to recruit more, and they're often more expensive. And then you have the mechanisms, like the one which are in the listing. There is the sponsor showcase, which is just on top of the listing. So it's a bit hybrid between above and below the fold. It's just on the line, I would say. And then you have all the below the fold communications like vignettes, butterflies, or sponsored search, which is not exactly media, but almost that. And here is once again more transformational. So you have once again in this array of type of media, what will be recruiting vs what will be repurchase. So I would say combining these two, where you put your media and what type of media you're playing, is going to reach another a different objective. And it's really what is really key, I would say, in this type of when you are planning media, it's objective to be clear on what is your objective, what you are searching for. Are you looking for more people, or do you want just the people actually to buy more of your product?
Exactly. So where do you see the field of e-commerce shelf and media going in the next few years? And what role do you see the Shellion playing in this revolution, I would say?
Yeah. So it's not an easy question, an interesting one, because what is difficult when we talk about some few years is to predict what is going to predict. The most difficult is actually the timeline. I think that the fact that now you have, all these natural language algorithm working more and more, like for example, ChatGPT, it's actually accelerating a lot some trends that were happening. And one main one is actually the personalization. What we see more and more today, what we have is that you have the possibility on media to use, off-site media actually to reach to specific people according to their history, things like that. And that's something that you can do on the site. I would say it's a very early first step actually of what we can do. But now what we will see more and more is actually the development. And I would have said some years ago that it was coming, but now it's almost there. It's actually vectorial search. This means that, so far we were looking by keywords, and often the methodology of search is based on keywords. Now it's going to be much more actually natural. You are going to be able to ask questions, to ask recipe, to ask advices. So the search is going to, I think soon search is going to look much more like a sort of chatbot. That basically you have a conversation and it gives you more advices on what to buy, on what to purchase on the site. And also what I would say is that ultimately where we are going to go is probably to sites which are able to adapt their offering from the homepage on who you are according to your history on basically your demographics. I don't know this one at which period of time. Is it something that, because it's quite disruptive, is it going to come now to in 1 year? Is it going to come in 4 years? I guess the first one we have to watch is Amazon, because they're often the most innovative. But my bet would be that at some point, really, the experience that you have is going to be extremely different from the ones other people have when going on sites. And that's going to ultimately come relatively quickly. Also, what I would say is that the other trend, I mentioned it earlier, but the fact that retail is becoming a media in itself, it means that it's the third wave of digital media after browsing, search, and social. And the question is how big it's going to be vs the three others. But the fact that you have, first-party data on which you can back this type of media make it very attractive. And the fact that you are very close actually to the purchase moment is very attractive for brands. So definitely we are going to see now retailer becoming more a media. And the real question is going to be how much they want to be a media, how much they want to be a retailer. Because the problem is that the more you put media, the more you interrupt the purchase journey, the more actually you can bother a little bit people. So it's going to be actually for the retailers, the really important thing is going to be how to monetize actually their traffic, but at the same time, how to make sure that actually customers are not too bothered with that. And then I would say what's going to be really important in terms of tooling, let's say, across e-commerce is the connectivity. Today, just if you work on Amazon, on any retailer, if you see the number of SaaS providers and agencies that are around, it's an endless flow of logos there. And definitely, a brand will have still to use several tools. There's one for the PIM, there is one for the digital shelf monitoring. There is many others actually to take action for the reviews, for each of the elements actually that they have to improve the shopper journey and automate actually their the processes with the retailers. And I think that the ability actually to make the let's say make the data the most standard as possible so that you can have a connectivity between the tools is going to be really important. And that's something on which we work already. For example, being able to connect with the PIM so that you can compare, make sure that actually what you have on your on your database is the same as what you are now harvesting. But that's the type of things that make people save time. But I think that is going to be crucial for the next years. And the last thing, as I mentioned earlier, is that we have heterogeneous retailers. And of course, what you want is to have a consistent way to measure them. So it's all the same about being able to harmonize more. And so these are basically the trends. And if we say how Chalion actually can help actually the brands on that, the first thing is that really on the media part, we have really invested a lot to be the best provider on retail media. We are really a ability today to monitor all type of media on the retailer site and to actually on a daily basis, because that's mandatory now given the change. So I think that that is where we are positioned. It means in an ability to help the customers to monitor their performance on the retail, but also taking in consideration all the visibility components on all the media components. And the second one is, as I mentioned, connectivity. We are obviously very keen to help our customers. So actually, we have APIs and we help them actually automating the processes so that everything goes faster.
Yes, I cannot agree anymore. The technology advancing so fast, it's very hard to actually to catch up with everything. So I think you are doing a great job actually helping the companies. And now the final questions, I would say $1 million questions.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to e-commerce professional who is looking to improve their brand visibility and stand out in the crowded marketplace?
Yeah, it's not easy because you're not alone. Obviously, there are many people now working on this. And as I said earlier, there are several challenges, and the big one is that specifically on beauty, you have to be good at everything. And I would say what is going to really differentiate an e-commerce manager vs another one is really the ability to focus on what is important at the right moment. And that's why, as I was mentioning earlier, this critical point, which is how can you align your whole organization so that at the very start of the launch of a product, all your content is actually ready to optimize your organic search and optimize your conversion, and making sure that this is properly rolled out across all the retailers, and making sure this as soon as possible so that you can actually, after that, and of course, you are going to have to still check that because there are changes on the site, but that can be done, I would say, in my opinion, on a monthly basis. But what is going to be important is that you can tackle all this so that basically after this, you don't talk anymore about SEO, but focus on the other part, which is visibility management. On visibility management, you will have to actually monitor what's your share on a weekly basis, and making sure that actually your media is answering to the right purpose, and of course your sponsor search on sponsor menu. So I would expect that an e-commerce manager who is successful is going to be the one able to spend enough time on this area, this strategic part of visibility, so that they can really fine-tune their strategy on a weekly basis.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I think it's a great kickoff for the conversations next week.
Yes,
thank you very much
for it. Yeah.
So where the people can find you if they have questions?
Alors, I am, yes, absolutely. LinkedIn, I'm there, Gaël Peigné, you can find me, and I would be very happy to continue any conversation.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So that is the end of our conversation. We'll try to keep it short, and I'll see you next week in Berlin.
Absolutely. See you next week. Thank you very much.